if you want to be an excellent podcaster, you really have to work on your mic technique, okay? So that you can sound your best, really, okay? And so into this conversation, I really want to explain to you, at least to give you a few hacks on your mic technique if you are a podcaster. So here's the technique I want you to think about. First of all, when I think about mic technique for podcasters, you have to really think about not only how to sound your best, but also how to connect with your audience, right? Because your audience is actually coming to your podcast to listen to you, not just about the topic that you are going to talk about, but also the audio quality, the music, the vibes, all the experience that you are giving them. So it's very important to understand that your mic actually becomes a quintessential instrument during all that whole conversation. Of course, when I speak about mic technique, it's not about you actually buying a specific brand of mic. It's about having, once again, that connection, that chemistry with your audience, and that chemistry with the audience actually has to revolve around three things: the geography of your target audience, the demographics of your target audience, and most importantly, the chronology, the timing. Timing means what? Timing just means that you have to adapt to the changing trends in the industry. If other podcasters are using a certain technique, a certain mic technique to connect with your audience, you may do the same thing too, okay? And when I speak about the demographics, what I really meant was psychographics. In other words, the psychology of your demographics, okay? Because that really is going to affect their perception of your audio quality, your mic technique overall. Now, mic technique is a much overlooked part of podcasting. It's very easy to assume that if you just buy a good microphone or decent equipment, then your show will automatically sound great. That's not really true. Okay, it's like anything else. Buying a fancy car will not necessarily make you a great driver. Think about it. Okay, and if you spend half a year or 1 year, one year wages on top of the range guitar, that doesn't mean that you will be playing like Jimi Hendrix. So this is why you want to really polish your mic technique. Okay, learning good mic technique isn't half as complicated as learning to drive or even playing a musical instrument. A lot of it comes down to simple, best practices, and I'll be sharing with you those practices into this conversation. So here are the tactics I want you to think about. The first mic technique I want you to share, I want to really share with you is the microphone handling, and a lot goes on in microphone handling. Why? Because you're trying to really position yourself. You're trying to have a conversation with a phone in the first place. See, when you're talking in a phone, you're not just speaking directly to your audience. You are speaking first and foremost to the microphone. Okay, you are having what I call a hormonal relationship with that phone. I mean, with that microphone. So even the most rugged of dynamic microphones make noise when handled. Okay, so keeping your microphone on a stand instead of holding it ensures the boom and rumble of fumbling with your mic doesn't ruin another take. And one thing for sure, you have to really be careful here, because when you are recording, when you are having a conversation with your audience, you have to have a way in such, you have to have a strategy in such a way that you do not forget about those basics. But see, those basics can become very prominent too. Be careful, okay? Desktop mic stand can actually transmit noise from typing, leaning on the desk, or any interaction with the surface the stand is sat on. I mean, I know this all the time, because when I do those shows, you can think that, yeah, I'm actually doing a podcast, okay? It's just that you have a video podcast. So this is an important element to think about. So if you use, for example, a boom arm, I actually recommend attaching the boom to a surface other than your desk to reduce transmission through the desk, okay? Now, with that said, many of the higher end boom arms out there, like the Rode PSA-1, are actually built to protect against shock waves traveling up them to the mic itself. So that's kind of cool, because it gives you a lot of flexibility. It gives a lot of clarity to your voice also. But most importantly, it really creates a better listening experience to your target audience. Because see, in podcasting, everything revolves around your listeners. If you have no listeners, you do not have a podcast. I don't care how talented you think you are or how beautiful your voice is. if nobody's willing to listen to you, it ain't worth it. The second mic technique that I want you to really think about is actually decoupling. Now, decoupling is very an important element to think about, because decoupling actually helps you instill another layer of or an extra layer of clarity to your sound, extra layer of clarity to the let's say to the overall audio, not just to the sound. Because when we think about your podcast, you have words that come out of your mouth, you have extra sounds, you have background sounds, you have you have a lot of a lot of noise. Okay, so if you use a desktop stand or even floor stands, I actually recommend decoupling the using either a piece of acoustic foam or some inexpensive decoupling pads. Now, by the way, when I speak about decoupling, this is actually a fancy word for moving the mic away from the surface. Okay, that's called decoupling. Now, decoupling pads attach to the feet of your mic stand and absorb the shock to reduce transmissions from getting through. Now, you got to really see the surface. Let's say you have to see the facility where you are doing the podcast too, because when in some surfaces, in some facilities, the need for decoupling might be more or less. It really depends on you, but also the location where you are at. One thing for sure, if you are trying to really do decoupling real fast, you have to really think of it beforehand. Okay. One thing for sure, you have to really see the surface where you're at. So you can try acoustic foam. Nowadays on Amazon, you have a very cheap acoustic foams. Fantastic. You can also try those decoupling pads. You have them on Amazon, and they are always on sale. By the way, it's kind of crazy. I was really surprised the other day when I saw those decoupling pads. I've been actually tracking their prices for over 3 to 6 months, and I realized that every 2 weeks they were always on sale, and it was really crazy. But hey, listen, that's good for you. I mean, if you have decoupling pads on sale, then you can actually buy them now and really save like 20 or 30% on the original price. So that's kind of cool, especially if you are trying to really succeed in your decoupling journey. So when you think about a mic technique for podcasters, you want to think about those mouth noises. I mean, this is just really crazy. But hey, listen, even I have those, and I have to try to make sure that, I reduce those. And the good thing is that our team is really fantastic, because they do a good job at reducing those noises in the end. So what do I mean by that? The thing is that when you actually have a mic, you are going to have those mouth noises. I know you're probably thinking, well, I'm perfect, blah, 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 blah. It wouldn't happen to me. Listen, it happens to everybody. We're all humans. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days, okay? And on those bad days, you have to really think about that. Even on good days, by the way, you might have some mouth noises. Now, excessive mouth noises can be distracting not only for yourself, but also your listeners, but also your guests. If you have guests on your show, those mouth noises can be really distracting, especially when using condenser microphones, which sound beautiful but are far more sensitive than their dynamic cousins. Okay, and one thing for sure, you want to avoid eating sugary or starchy foods like bread or potato chips before going on mic, because the starches thicken the saliva and make the mouth pastier. Okay, creating heavy mouth noises. It's one of those things where you have to really see. I'm just giving you a few hacks, so you have to think about it. And you have to think about this like beforehand. And one thing you want to do also is that if you want to reduce actually mouth noises, even if you haven't eaten starches, a green apple, you can have a green apple or like a Granny Smith or a Crispin. This is kind of cool. And those foods actually help reduce the starches and thickness of the saliva. But my best hack for you is to have a glass of water. I mean, you can have a glass of water, or you can have a glass of water with a wedge of lemon. This can also help reduce mouth noises. The thing is that you always need to really think about what works for you. But water is always great, no matter what. And I've also heard of some podcasters and VOs who advocate cleaning their teeth before a recording session too. So that really can help you in terms of clarity, in terms of freshness, in terms of capability as well. That's really fantastic. If you're trying to really improve your mic technique as a podcaster, I want you to really think about the mic positioning. I want you to think about the posture. I want you to think about the location of the mic. Okay, what you want to do is when it comes to mic positioning, you want to hang loose. Okay, and so hang loose means what? Hang loose means that you are at a respectable distance from the mic. You are actually because you want your voice to be heard loud and clear. You want your voice to be crisp. You want your voice to be pretty authoritative, especially if you are speaking on a very complex or like a brainy, quote unquote, brainy topic. Okay. So a vital aspect of mic technique actually is mic positioning. So good mic positioning helps prevent excessive reverb from getting into the mic while also reducing the weighted bassy feel caused by the proximity effect. So now, when you think about the proximity effect, this is actually it's the unnatural, albeit sometimes desired bass response that actually happens when you lean closer to a microphone or someone's ear, for that matter, right? So because see, the thing is that when you think about your relationship with the mic, think about your relationship with your listeners' ears, because that's what the mic does for you. And good microphone position is roughly a 6 to 8 inches from the mouth. So this is an important element to think about. So you want to really make sure that you are actually hanging loose, okay? And so you want to place for instance, you want to. The thing is that you have to really understand that whatever works for you has to work for your listeners too. So if for any reason you think that 6 or 8 inches is too far, then you can bring it to 4 inches. But then what you want to do is you want to test it out. You want to test out the sound. You want to have someone else listen to the sound too. Okay, it's not just you. You are not the listener. Your listeners are different. That's why you want to have somebody else actually listen independently to your podcast. So one thing you want to do also is that you want to think about gaining staging. Now, so when you think about mic techniques as a podcasters, gain staging is really critical. Why? Because as a podcaster, you and this I know this so much because you go through all kinds of podcasts. You go through all kinds of topics, and your inspiration is not the same. So, and your inspiration is going to affect your voice, and your voice is going to affect your connection with your target audience. Okay. So before each recording session, gain staging your microphone is always a good practice. While it may not be necessary from session to session, gain controls can be bumped, and it's a good practice to check your settings before a session to avoid complications while recording. Imagine that you start recording and you probably recorded like a 1 hour audio, and now you have complications. Then you have to go back and really sort of like this untangle things. That's crazy. You do not want to be. You do not want to be there. Okay, that's why you want to really check your settings before a session a session starts. Simply arm a track with your microphone connected in your DAW and adjust the gain until the input levels hang around 6 dB when speaking at a natural volume for you. So okay, minus 6 dB, minus 60 dB. Now note though, a natural volume is your normal speaking volume. If you tend to speak loudly, do so when gain staging to get a good gain with room to speak louder before clipping. And that's going to help you actually, again, going back to what I said a little earlier, establish that relationship, that sound relationship with your audience. Okay. When it comes to podcasting, everything revolves around sound. And again, sound is not just the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's also the external elements such as the environment, the room where you are at, the equipment you are using, and the settings in your DAW. By the way, DAW, digital audio workstation. This is kind of similar to your podcast editor. So This is a podcast editor software. This is another word for DAW. So when you think about great mic technique for podcasters, think about pop screens, okay? And so there are a few ways to handle plosives, and those are the bassy pops when pronouncing B's and P's as air burst from your mouth and into the mic. And so the first and best line of defense is to use a pop screen between the microphone and your mouth. And pop screens help by diffusing the air from the plosive before it can hit the microphone while leaving the sound from the voice relatively unaffected. And that's what you really want to have, because it's going to create a great experience, a great LX, a great listening experience for your target audience. Remember, everything revolves around the target audience. If you make your target audience very comfortable, if you add value to their lives, they are going to add value to your podcast. So overall, when you think about a great mic technique for podcasters, remember that you are going to get things done by actually trying things out, okay? With all the wonderful plugins out there that make our editing lives easier. It's sometimes hard to remember that sound recording is a garbage in, garbage out process, okay? So what gets recorded, good or bad, is actually ultimately what we have to work with when we actually go to edit. So in that sense, what happens here is that the ultimate goal for you should be to record actually the sound as accurately as possible with as little noise, distraction, and reverb as possible. And the sound here is your voice. The sound here is actually the music that you are putting in. So the more you rely on plugins to alter the sound, the more potential there is to reduce frequencies and make the voice sound incoherent or unnatural. In extreme cases with dropouts or an unnatural lack of room noise. So remember to use proper mic technique, placement, and other tips that I just shared with you into this conversation before resorting to a filter or plugin to alter the sound. And so do this, and you can use your editing and production tools to take your audio from good to great, as opposed to bad to slightly better, okay? But everything actually revolves around the input. Garbage in, garbage out, okay? So try to make sure what you put in is not actually garbage. It's actually a great quality audio, so that in the end, the kind of editing, the kind of transformation you have to do to the original audio is actually as insignificant as possible. So this is an important element to think about, especially in the long run. So in closing into this conversation, I spoke to you about mic techniques for podcasters. I actually give you the technique itself and then the tactics. So I spoke about microphone handling, decoupling, mouth noise, mic positioning, gain staging, and pop screens. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.